In this video, we explore how the Platonic solids, tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron, affect our consciousness and reality. Through the eyes of Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, we uncover the connection between sacred geometry and human experience. This is a journey into the hidden, where ancient symbols reveal profound truths about our existence. In ancient Egypt, where the sands whisper stories of gods and pharaohs, rose a deity who carried the torch of wisdom, Thoth. With the head of an ibis and the body of a man, Thoth was honored as the god of wisdom, writing, and magic. He was not only a protector of knowledge, but also a mediator between the divine and the human. Thoth was considered the creator of hieroglyphs, the Egyptian writing system, and was often depicted with a writing pen and scroll. He was also a moon god, and his connection to the moon symbolized the passage of time and cycles. In mythology, Thoth served as a mediator among the gods, resolving conflicts and maintaining cosmic order. One of the most fascinating aspects of Thoth is his association with the Platonic solids. These five perfect geometric shapes, tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron, were later studied by the Greek philosopher Plato, but their roots trace back to earlier civilizations, including ancient Egypt. Thoth, as a god of wisdom and knowledge, was often linked to these forms as symbols of the universe's fundamental structures. The Platonic solids represent the five classical elements: fire, tetrahedron; earth, cube; air, octahedron; water, icosahedron; and ether or the universe, dodecahedron. These shapes are found in nature, from crystal structures to biological organisms, symbolizing harmony and balance. Thoth's connection to these forms suggests a deep understanding of the geometry and structure of the universe. In esoteric traditions, Thoth is seen as a teacher who introduced humanity to sacred geometry, and the Platonic solids are the key to understanding this knowledge. Through meditation and contemplation of these shapes, one can gain insight into the nature of the universe and one's place within it. Thoth's wisdom is not merely a legacy of the past, but a living tradition that continues to inspire seekers today. By studying the Platonic solids and their meanings, we can open doors to deeper understanding and connection with the divine. Thoth invites us to look beyond the visible and explore the hidden patterns that shape our reality. The Platonic solids, tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron, are the only five regular polyhedra that exist in three dimensions. Each of these forms is made up of identical regular polygons and possesses exceptional symmetry. These shapes have fascinated philosophers, mathematicians, and mystics for centuries because of their aesthetic beauty and profound symbolism. The tetrahedron consists of four equal triangles and represents the element of fire. Its sharp shape symbolizes energy, transformation, and willpower. The cube or hexahedron consists of 6 squares and represents earth. Its stable and solid structure symbolizes foundation, strength, and reliability. The octahedron, with its 8 triangles, represents air. Its light and balanced shape symbolizes intellect, communication, and movement. The icosahedron is composed of 20 triangles and represents water. Its flowing and harmonious structure symbolizes emotions, intuition, and healing. The dodecahedron, with its 12 pentagons, is perhaps the most mysterious of the Platonic solids. It represents ether or the universe, symbolizing wholeness, spirituality, and the divine. Plato believed that the dodecahedron was used by the gods to arrange the stars in the sky. These shapes are not just mathematical concepts. They are also found in nature. For example, many crystals have structures resembling the Platonic solids. Viruses, such as HIV, have icosahedral structures. Even in the human body, we find these forms in protein structures and the DNA spiral. In esoteric traditions, the Platonic solids are used in meditation and healing practices. By visualizing or meditating on these shapes, one can balance the body's energy centers, or chakras, and achieve a deeper connection with the universe's energy. Each shape is associated with a specific chakra and element, and can be used to harmonize and strengthen these energy points. Thoth, as the god of wisdom, introduced humanity to these forms as tools for understanding the structure of the universe and our place within it. By studying and meditating on the Platonic solids, we can open ourselves to higher consciousness and insight. They are keys to unlocking deeper levels of understanding and connection with the divine. In the stillness of nature, there is a language older than words, a language not shaped by voices but by patterns, symmetry, and harmony. This language is called sacred geometry. From the structure of a snowflake to the spiral of a galaxy, everything follows a pattern, a formula, a rhythmic expression of life's intelligence. And it is through the lines and curves of this geometry that we approach an understanding of the deeper layers of consciousness. Sacred geometry is not just about shapes and mathematical rules. It's a way of perceiving the world. It allows us to see beyond the illusion of chaos and discover the underlying order in the universe. When we look at a flower, we don't just see petals, we see the Fibonacci sequence. When we see a seashell, we see the golden ratio. And in all of it, the tetrahedron, dodecahedron, icosahedron, we recognize not just aesthetic perfection, but a consciousness that speaks to our own. This connection between geometry and consciousness is not only philosophical, it is also practical and personal. When we surround ourselves with shapes and structures that reflect sacred geometry, we bring harmony into our lives. This is why ancient temples, cathedrals, and sanctuaries were built with geometric precision, because they created spaces where the human mind could more easily connect with the divine. In meditation and spiritual practice, the Platonic solids are often used as focal points. A tetrahedron can be placed in the mind to ignite the power of fire, will, action, transformation. An octahedron can be used to balance mind and breath. By visualizing or physically holding these shapes, certain frequencies are activated in the body's energy field, and many report profound changes in mental clarity, emotional balance, and spiritual insight. Thoth, as a teacher of the hidden, taught us that form itself carries a message. When we study sacred geometry, we are not only studying what is seen, but also the unseen, what lies behind. He said, "All that is created is first drawn in the light of thought." By this, he meant that before anything manifests physically, it exists as a geometric archetype in consciousness. This insight changes how we see ourselves. We are not separate from the universe, we are its reflection. Every atom in our body carries the structure of the stars. When we honor the Platonic solids, we honor our own origin. We awaken to the deep truth that geometry is a mirror, and what it reflects is our true nature. What do you think so far? How does this understanding of geometry and consciousness resonate with you? In ancient times, long before written language was widespread, knowledge was passed on through symbols and initiations. Thoth, the guardian of this ancient wisdom, used precisely such symbols to convey understanding that could not be expressed in words. The Platonic solids were among the most sacred symbols in his teachings. Thoth's writings, especially the esoteric texts known as the Emerald Tablets, reveal a profound vision of how the universe works. According to him, all is one, and this one manifests through structure, a structure that can be read and understood through geometry. He taught that the Platonic solids do not merely represent physical elements, but also states of consciousness. The tetrahedron, for example, is not just fire. It is will, intention, the spark of creation. Thoth's teachings were not academic, but experiential. To understand the Platonic solids, one had to feel them, meditate with them, build them, wear them, dream them. Mystery initiations in ancient temples often involved work with these shapes. Disciples were introduced to the energetic signatures of the forms, and through them, they learned to manipulate energy, heal the body, and expand the mind. One of the most enigmatic aspects of Thoth's teachings is how he linked the shapes to the soul's journey. He described the human soul as a being of light, composed of geometry. As the soul ascended in consciousness, it moved through various geometric layers, from the dense tetrahedral reality to the ethereal dodecahedral light. Each shape was a step in the soul's evolution. This vision is mirrored in many spiritual traditions. In the Kabbalistic tree of life, In the Hindu chakra system, in indigenous ceremonies, wherever humans have sought connection with the sacred, we find geometric structures. Thoth understood this, and he taught his disciples to use the shapes as bridges between worlds. He also taught how to use the Platonic solids for healing. By placing a specific shape near a chakra or energy point on the body, one could stimulate the flow of life force, or Ka. This was done not only with physical models, but also through visualization and sound, for each shape also had a corresponding vibration, tone, and frequency. In this understanding, the Platonic solids become more than just concepts. They become living beings, conscious structures that can help us heal, understand, and transform. And at the center of it all stands Thoth, not as a distant god, but as a teacher and guide. The next time you see a cube or hold a crystal shaped like an octahedron, ask yourself, what is the universe trying to tell me? Because in Thoth's world, nothing is random. Everything is form. Everything is consciousness. Sacred geometry, despite its mystical and ancient origins, is far from inaccessible. On the contrary, its power lies in its applicability. It is not reserved only for temples and initiations. It lives and breathes in our daily lives, waiting to be activated in our consciousness. Thoth taught his followers that wisdom without application is like a seed without soil. It must be planted, nourished, and experienced in order to bear fruit. In today's society, many people seek balance, meaning, and harmony. This is where sacred geometry steps in as a bridge between the inner and the outer, between spirit and matter. For when we begin to understand how the structures of the universe function, we can begin to interact with them, not just observe them. And the first place to do this is in our own homes, our own bodies, and our own minds. Architecture is perhaps the most tangible example. When we build spaces that follow geometric principles, like the golden ratio or the symmetry of the Platonic solids, we create rooms that resonate with the body's own frequency. Ancient temples and cathedrals are not just beautiful, they are harmonic resonance chambers. Entering such structures brings a feeling of peace because the forms speak directly to our subconscious. Art and music can also be infused with sacred geometry. From Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man to fractal art and mandalas, the shapes reflect the rhythms of the universe. When one creates or meditates on such works, portals to deeper insight open. These are not just visual tools, but energetic instruments. Thoth taught his disciples to paint and carve the shapes with intention and to place them in specific locations to balance energy. Meditation is another powerful tool. Visualizing a Platonic shape in the mind, especially placed in the body's energy centers, can activate and cleanse those points. A tetrahedron at the solar plexus can ignite personal power. An icosahedron at the heart chakra can assist with emotional release and forgiveness. Many people use crystals shaped like these structures during meditation and report profound experiences of peace, visions, and energetic activation. In healing and alternative medicine, geometric tools have been used for centuries. In modern times, we are seeing the rediscovery of the Merkaba, a three-dimensional star tetrahedron, as a light body for spiritual protection and travel. This concept, introduced by Thoth in ancient mystery schools, describes the rotation of two interlocked tetrahedrons that activate consciousness and connect the individual to higher dimensions. But perhaps the most transformative use of sacred geometry is in self-understanding. When we begin to recognize that our DNA, our cellular structure, even the shape of water molecules, all follow geometric principles, we begin to see ourselves as microcosms of the greater whole. Thoth taught that, as above, so below, as within, so without. This insight gives us power. We understand that we are creators, not victims, that the balance we seek starts with the forms we hold in our consciousness. By bringing sacred geometry into everyday life, in our homes, our art, our meditation, and our thinking, we rise as co-creators in the universe. We reclaim our role as architects of our own inner temple. In an age where mysticism and science are often seen as opposites, a new understanding is now emerging. A bridge between the insights of ancient sages and modern scientific discoveries. At the center of this bridge stands geometry, not only as a mathematical discipline but as a tool for understanding consciousness itself. And it is in this meeting that Thoth's teachings gain new life and relevance. Quantum physics, with its ever-deepening insight into the nature of reality, has challenged our previous assumptions about space, time, and matter. Scientists are now discovering that reality is not as solid as it seems. Particles can be in two places at once. The observer's intention affects the outcome of experiments, and beneath it all exists an invisible field, a kind of ground structure for all of existence. Some call it the zero-point field. Others call it the holographic universe. What is striking is that the structure of this field shows patterns resembling those found in sacred geometry. Scientists such as Nassim Haramein have developed models of the universe's structure based on tetrahedral systems and fractal geometry, demonstrating how these forms actually describe energy movement in the universe. The DNA spiral, for instance, follows the golden ratio. Our brain operates through fractal networks. Even our heartbeats form patterns that follow harmonious geometric rhythms. In neuroscience, researchers have discovered that the brain responds positively to symmetrical shapes and proportions. When we look at certain patterns, like mandalas or spirals, areas in the brain associated with relaxation, focus, and joy are activated. This is not a coincidence. Sacred geometry seems to speak directly to our nervous system. It is as if we are coded to recognize these shapes as safe, healing, and natural. Even in psychology and therapy, geometric principles are now being used. Art therapy with mandalas helps patients express and understand emotions. Therapists use geometric visualizations to help clients balance energy and calm anxiety. In this context, geometry is not just structure, it is medicine. Thoth foresaw this. In his teachings, there was never a conflict between science and spirit. He said, "Science is spirit that has found its form. Spirit is science that has found its freedom." By this, he meant that true understanding arises when we see that the laws of the universe are expressions of a living intelligence, a consciousness of which we ourselves are a part. Modern science's gradual recognition of geometry as the foundation of both matter and mind brings us back to the ancient, back to the temples, back to the stars, and back to ourselves. In this perspective, geometry is more than numbers and lines. It is a language that science is only now beginning to learn to speak. There are moments in life when we can no longer continue as before. Something breaks down, a pattern, an illusion, an expectation, and in that breakdown, a possibility for breakthrough arises. This is where symbols come in. The Platonic solids are more than static figures. They are living symbols of transformation, bridges between who we have been and who we can become. In Thoth's teachings, each shape represents not only an element but a stage in the inner journey of the human being. The tetrahedron, the shape of fire, is the beginning. It is the burning intention, the decision to change, to create, to act. When you set a goal, when you stand firm in the face of resistance, then the tetrahedron lives in you. The cube, the shape of Earth, is the next step. Here the intention meets the laws of reality. It is about structure, patience, and perseverance. This is the phase where many lose heart. But the cube teaches us that lasting change must be anchored. It is in the stillness, in the everyday, that miracles ripen. The octahedron, the shape of air, brings clarity and communication. Here you begin to understand why the change was necessary. You begin to see yourself without distortion. A balanced self-image emerges. The icosahedron, the shape of water, dives deeper. It brings healing, emotional integration, and flow. Here, old wounds are cleansed and you learn to let go. Then comes the dodecahedron, the shape of the universe. This is where you transform. No longer the same as before, but reborn in insight. In Thoth's mysteries, the dodecahedron was always held sacred. It was never used in ordinary rituals, only in the deepest initiations, when the soul was ready to enter a new level of consciousness. This symbolism is not just poetic, it is psychologically precise. Many modern therapists and spiritual guides use the Platonic solids as frameworks for personal growth. It's not about fleeing the human experience, but about elevating it to the divine. As Thoth himself said, "The highest is already found in the lowest, and the lowest in the highest." The Platonic solids function as archetypes. When you contemplate a cube, the qualities of earth are activated in you: stability, strength, endurance. When you wear a dodecahedron around your neck, you remind yourself of your infinite nature. These symbols can be both tools and guides. They speak a language the soul already knows. Think about how you can use this, perhaps as a daily reflection. Which shape do you need today? Perhaps as art, drawing or crafting the shapes and letting them speak to you. Or in meditation, envisioning yourself inside one of the shapes, surrounded by its essence. Every time you do this, you strengthen the connection between consciousness and symbol, between human and sacred. And, dear viewer, if you followed along this far, I thank you from the depth of my being. What you carry now, the insight, the resonance, the curiosity, is the beginning of a journey only you can complete. And the best is yet to come. How can a deity from ancient Egypt be relevant in a world filled with smartphones, quantum physics, and artificial intelligence? This is a question many ask, but the answer is simple, because Thoth was never just a god, he was a principle, an archetypal expression of the highest wisdom that resides in all of us. In today's spiritual movements, we see a reawakening of interest in Thoth. Books, channeled messages, meditations, and symbolic systems draw on his legacy. He is often perceived as a master teacher, a guide for those seeking true understanding, not only intellectually, but existentially. In many circles, he is associated with the wisdom of Atlantis, the esoteric mysteries of Lemuria, and the consciousness revolution now unfolding on Earth. Thoth represents the connection between thought and form, between idea and manifestation. He reminds us that what we think, feel, and focus on shapes the reality we experience. In a time when many feel powerless, this teaching is a powerful reminder that we are still creators. In modern practices such as meditation with sacred geometry, energy healing, and spiritual architecture, Thoth's principles are being invoked. His teachings inspire everything from how we design our homes to how we construct our inner frameworks. Many meditation teachers guide students through Thoth portals, visualizations where one activates the Merkaba, receives visions in temple landscapes, or accesses knowledge from the collective archive he guards. His message has also found its way into psychology and coaching. The geometry of thought is a term used to describe how thought patterns create emotional and physical reactions. When we change the pattern, the shape, we change the experience. Thoth's teachings then become a key to inner alchemical transformation. In the face of planetary changes, growing unrest, and the search for meaning, Thoth's wisdom is more relevant than ever. For he offers no dogmas, he offers tools, no rules, but principles, no fear, but opportunity. And perhaps that is precisely why so many women and men, all over the world, of all ages and cultures, feel a deep pull toward him. Because they recognize the voice, because they have seen the symbols, because deep down they know that the journey to wisdom always begins with a question. And it was Thoth who taught us how to ask the right one. Knowledge alone does not transform. It is like a map, useful, informative, but powerless to move us unless we travel. Experience is the journey. And when knowledge and experience merge, the gateway to insight opens. This is exactly what Thoth sought: to unite the mental and the spiritual, the practical and the sacred, what is learned and what is lived. Through the Platonic solids, this becomes more than a concept. It becomes a practice. When we understand how the shapes represent structures in nature and in our psyche, we begin to recognize them in our own lives. A relationship out of balance might suddenly appear as a disharmonious cube, a creative block as a disrupted tetrahedron, a spiritual awakening as an activation of the dodecahedron's light in the heart. Integration does not happen in a single day. It is a continuous process where we apply what we have learned and re-experience it at a new level. Many who have delved into sacred geometry report that they see the world differently. They begin to notice patterns in daily life, numbers, symbols, synchronicities. And with that comes a deeper sense of meaning and presence. Thoth encouraged living learning. In his mystery tradition, insight was not meant for memorization but for internalization. A teacher would give a form, say an octahedron, and ask the student to carry it for 7 days, observing thoughts, feelings, dreams. It was through direct experience that the knowledge became real. This is how wisdom becomes integrated into the nervous system, the consciousness, the everyday. In today's world, we can do the same. By using the Platonic solids in meditation, in rituals, in art, or even as jewelry, we bring their energy into our sphere. We remind ourselves of balance, wholeness, and structure, not as limitations, but as portals to freedom. But it requires presence. It requires the willingness to look at our own patterns, the mental structures we build our lives upon. Are they in harmony? Do they reflect our truth? Or is it time to tear down an old cube and build a new one with deeper roots and higher purpose? Thoth said, "The path of light is the one that builds up in truth and breaks down in love." By this, he meant that true wisdom requires both structure and surrender. To integrate the Platonic solids into life is to open oneself to a dynamic balance between knowing and being. So how do you begin? Perhaps with a simple intention: to see yourself as living geometry, a walking dodecahedron, a universe in form. For when you live in harmony with the rhythms of the shapes, you become a channel for wisdom, not only as words, but as presence. We have traveled together through symbols and time, from Thoth's ancient wisdom to today's spiritual search. We have seen how shapes can be keys, how geometry can be a path, and how an ancient deity still whispers through the patterns in our lives. But now, dear viewer, it is your turn. What will you do with what you have seen and heard? Thoth did not teach to impress, he taught to awaken. And if something in you was awakened during this journey, a resonance, a curiosity, a glimpse of understanding, then you have already begun walking the path that leads inward and upward. The Platonic solids are tools, yes, but they are also mirrors. They reflect who you are today and who you can become tomorrow. When you stand before a cube, it asks you, are you stable? When you look at a tetrahedron, it asks, do you have the will to change? When you hold an icosahedron, it asks, can you flow with the waters of life? And when you see a dodecahedron, it no longer asks. It simply is. It simply vibrates with a stillness that reminds you of your infinity, your origin, your power. Perhaps that's why Thoth chose to teach through shapes, because shapes cannot be manipulated with words. They must be experienced. They must be lived. And every time you turn toward them, you also turn toward a deeper version of yourself. So I now invite you, at the end of this journey, to reflect. Which shape are you carrying today? And which shape do you wish to grow into? Thank you for being with us all the way. Feel free to share in the comments what insights you're taking with you. Subscribe to our channel for more journeys with Thoth, and don't miss our next video. Sacred Geometry. In nature, the hidden language of the universe.